Namaskar. Hello, friends. We have started looking at chapter 3. Today we will take up verse 9 of chapter 3. यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणः अन्यत्र लोकः अयं कर्मबन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसंगः समाचर. Literal meaning: karma performed without the mental foundation of surrendering it to God, and instead performed with a desire for the fruit of the karma, binds the Jivatma. Therefore, O Arjuna, you should perform karma by giving up the doership and by surrendering it to God. Practical insight: we should remain engaged in performing our worldly duties as per the demands of the situation. But while performing these duties, we should constantly remember that I am doing everything for the sake of the big picture of the divine. Whatever I am doing is just a part of what the divine has ordained for this whole big creation. So I do not want anything from my action for myself, nor do I want to avoid what may come my way after my action. In other words, my action as well as its outcome both are for the divine, and nothing is for me. Such an attitude frees us from bondage to karma. Needless to add, a contrary attitude of I am doing this and hence I expect such and such an outcome for my benefit binds one to his karma and perpetuates the cycle of birth and death. Now, verses 10 to 13 of chapter 3. सहयज्ञाः प्रजाः सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रसविष्यध्वमेष वः अस्त्वेष्टकामधुक् देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यथ इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवा दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः तैर्दत्तान् प्रदायैभ्यो यो भुङ्क्तेस्तेन एव सः यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तो मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषैः भुञ्जते ते त्वघं पापा ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात्. Literal meaning: at the beginning of this creation, Lord Brahma created all the beings together with yajnas, etc., and then told them to perform their righteous duties in accordance with their own swadharma. Then he said, this yajna will fulfill your desires. When you worship gods by means of this yajna in the form of swadharma, those gods will be pleased with you, and thus you should please each other and achieve your welfare. Gods worshipped with yajna will be pleased, and they will fulfill your desires. One who himself enjoys the sense pleasures given to him by gods without dedicating them to gods should be considered a thief. Those who accept the remnants of yajna as a prasada, such sages get liberated from all sins. But those who prepare food for themselves and eat it are actually consuming sin. Practical insight: these verses are extremely important in understanding how one should live life. They talk about that most fundamental concept of swadharma in the context of the other necessary facets of human life namely desires. Through the Gita, Shri Krishna makes it very clear that he is the Supreme One. Shri Krishna emphasizes that he is not the one who creates this physical world. He talks about Ishwar or gods as being responsible for the functioning of the universe. This can be interpreted to mean that gods are the laws that govern the creation and functioning of the physical universe, and that these laws or gods arise from the Supreme One. Shri Krishna exhorts us to worship these gods. He defines that worship as living in accordance with Swadharma, which is a very important concept in the Gita, and it needs to be understood correctly. It is completely different from the concept of dharma or religion as it has come to be understood in the later period. Swadharma is a totally individual concept as against a religion that has become a community or a collective concept. Every individual is born as a different person with his own baggage of past karma to live through. Even if one may not believe in rebirth and karma theory, one can still understand and accept the scientific reality of genes that make up a person and that guide the way one acts and reacts. So, in effect, everyone has his own individual life course to chart that fits into the big picture for the creation. Following Swadharma, following Swadharma is living in the constant awareness that one's life is different in its own way and is a part of the big picture for the functioning of the whole creation. It consists of doing what seems to be appropriate at the given moment in God consciousness, which is nothing but the awareness that there is a big picture much larger than one's limited view of one's own life. It is also important to note that ritualistic injunctions of organized religion, that is called dharma, are not a part of swadharma and are not necessary. When verse 12 says, Gods worshipped with yajna will be pleased and will fulfill your desires, does it mean one can chant God's name and any and every desire for sense pleasure will be fulfilled? No. When one lives in the awareness of the big picture, one is naturally aligned with it. So his desires are in consonance with the plan for the whole creation, which means everything that happens in his life will seem to be as per his desires. That is the meaning of the gods fulfilling your desires. Then one will cheerfully accept the reality every moment as prasada, that is gift from the divine. If one is completely engrossed only in his limited body consciousness, he will forget the big picture. Then he will be like a thief. It will also probably mean that Such a person who's driven by his body consciousness will often be transgressing the laws that the divine creator has laid down, that is the gods, and those gods will not be pleased if you transgress those laws, which means that your desires then will not be fulfilled. Now verses 19 to 22 of chapter 3. तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिमास्थिता जनकादयः लोकसंग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि यद् यदाचरति श्रेष्ठस्तत्तद्देवेतरो जनः स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यं वर्त एव च कर्मणि. Literal meaning. Hence, you should always perform your due duties, discarding the desire for the fruit thereof. One who performs due duties without desiring any fruit achieves purification of mind and attains the highest state. Wise men like King Janaka became liberated by performing karma, and keeping the welfare of people in mind, it is appropriate for you too to perform karma. People perform the same karma that a superior person performs, and they follow the standards set by that leader. O Arjuna, I have nothing to do in these three worlds, nor do I need to get anything that I don't have at present. Nevertheless, I perform karma in the interest of people at large. Practical insight. A self-realized person also must continue to perform karma even after he is self-realized. This physical world is founded and sustained by action. So people at large must continue to remaining engaged in action. That is why it is important for wise people to set an ideal for other ordinary people to follow. For that, the wise, that is self-realized people, must also continue to perform their normal worldly duties, just like any other ordinary people. Whatever the wise people do becomes accepted as dharma, and all others tend to follow the same. So if wise people refrain from engaging in action because they don't need anything from their worldly life, then other people will believe that they also don't need to perform karma. That will come in the way of the proper functioning of the world. I will stop here today and will continue the next time. Until then, bye. Take care.